I'm Sanne Bor. I'm from LUT University, part of the Package Heroes project in VP2, and I'm now going to present you with issues that are we've been working on together with Greg O'Shea and Maria Åkerman and Henna Sundqvist, as well as with our work package more broadly. And the main focus that we are looking at is exactly the kind of like sustainability transition in food packaging, but looking specifically at kind of like the perspective of companies. So when we look at the sustainability transition in food packaging, well, the first question is then, what is a sustainability transition, which is a large, long-term, multi-dimensional, fundamental transformation process through which established social technical systems shift to a more sustainable mode of production and consumption. So basically what it means is that there are various elements in the social technical system, from the culture to the science to the policy to the industry. Everything needs to has small changes that work towards a total change in the end. And these are influenced by both the new innovations that are coming, as well as the kind of like changes in the environment. So when we look at the kind of innovations in food packaging, for instance, sorry, going back one, then we see that there is, especially looking at new materials, work on new bio-based materials, biodegradable materials that are bio-based, and coatings thereof, but also looking at different packaging solutions, looking at new ways of packing that results in less material use, but also looking at changes in business models. So there's innovation in terms of looking for reuse business models, as an example. As part of then the changing societal values and the expectations that are seen, we do recognize, and that's what we just were talking about as well, is that we have a change in policy and regulation in relation to packaging. You see several different elements happening. We have the plastic strategy for the circular economy. We have the circular economy action plan that includes sustainable products initiative. We have the SUP directive, but also regulatory framework for biodegradable and bio-based plastics, and a revision of food contact material legislation. So there's a lot of things ongoing. In the media, we see also a lot of attention to packaging, particularly when it comes to fear of plastics in the ocean, the microplastics. They are very much at the forefront, but they are there next to issues of climate change, etc. Then we have changing consumer demands and behaviors, as we have been already talking about earlier with the presentation by Kirsi. We see that like consumers are having an interest in packaging and in finding sustainable solutions, and having that come to the market. So there is a demand of that. And then we have the changing supply chain demands that are and behaviors itself from the industry. What we in our research have been looking at is like what do food producers, for instance, do to signal that they really actually want this change to happen and that they are willing to take steps. So what we have been looking at is, for instance, if you look at the sustainability reports by food companies or food producers, we see that they are setting sustainability targets in relation to both packaging and in relation to their own food product. But packaging is one of the elements that has been getting into the reporting of these companies. Also, what you see is that they are supporting change by, for instance, acting as a testbed for potential innovations, but also driving co-innovation by asking both the product, like the kind of like package producers and the material producers to work together to find new solutions. Then they are buying differently. Most of them are reporting on reducing the amount of plastics that they are using, or reporting on materials becoming more recyclable. And then there are also some that are really like looking at developing their own innovation capacity in terms of packaging and material. So that's what we have been seeing. So there's a lot of pressure in terms of like change wish. But there are also some barriers. And what we have identified is that there is in packaging, one of the key thing is the high complexity. So there's in food packaging, there is not one thing that is ongoing, but there are multiple things ongoing. So you have not only the need for looking at protecting the food, or only having plastics as an issue, but these are all combined as issues. And so our policy recommendation, which can be found on the website, is one of our ways to highlight how this complexity actually looks like. We also then highlight as a barrier the high uncertainty, especially in relation to all these different elements. And what I talked about already is the aspect of policy change. So we see a lot of change in policy ongoing, which means that there is for companies a lot of uncertainty in terms of like, where are we going to get, and what is the thing that we are needing to do in even in 2 years, 5 years from now. The system is also very interdependent. So you have the food system has its own rules and regulations in relation to the food product. We have the material system and the packaging system that each have their own way of thinking and their own basic demands that need to find a way to work together. So there's high interdependence between the systems that need to work together. Then there is investment needs. If we need to get to new materials and need to get to new solutions, new business models, there will be a high need for investments. That means not only like in terms of innovation, but also what we see is that, like, especially when companies have a first idea of an innovation, then the further growth and maybe the first, like the extra steps need investments. Then another barrier that we see is high competition. So basically, sustainability has become a competition element, and that complicates and becomes a barrier in itself. So the fact that so many consumers, customers, but also just us as a society find sustainability important makes that companies are actually taking that as an element of competition, which then complicates the system. How do we overcome those barriers? Well, in many ways, what we see as a key thing, and that's what Tita also already presented, is that we see that like there is a need for collaboration. We see a need for collaboration in terms of the way of understanding and getting a common language, getting on the same page as where are we and where can we get to. And creating more shared understanding will help us to then get to more security in terms of future and our environment. This also like means that collaboration is needed in terms of like solving the complex sustainability issues, because it's not so that it's very easy. We recognize that it's extremely difficult to take all these different things into account, and therefore it might be helpful not to do that as companies alone or as a single company on your own, but that like there is solutions sought in collaboration with one another. And so to speed up the transition, that's one of the key things. Moving from a kind of like emergent process to a more decided process where we know what we are wanting together, and therefore create more clarity and predictability in the change process. So that's what we are thinking. Of course, collaboration does already exist. This is just a picture we were drawing based on some sustainability reporting and looking at different associations, different recycling companies or recycling product producer responsibility organizations. And so there is a lot of collaboration ongoing already between materials, packaging, food, retail. And what we looked at is what kind of role do these collaborations play? And what we see is that basically there are 4 different kinds of roles that are being played. One is the one that is really harmonizing members in the sense of like wanting to protect members against change. So really helping the members to stick to what we have at the moment. That also includes then, this kind of like the member harmonizing is really happening within the association, within the collaboration, where the change protector is really like going outside and saying like, okay, we don't want this change. So there it's more about influence perceptions, ideas, policy suggestions, etc. But on the other hand, we have also innovation supporters or change supporters that are really promoting change within the organization and helping members to really like prepare for a change that's ongoing. And then we have change facilitators who are helping the system, helping a larger group of people to come together from different systems, from different elements. And that's something that is still the thing that is seen as the most missing within the food packaging transition. So the first 3 are existing. The change facilitation is still seen as the most missing. On the other hand, we do have a lot of projects also there. And what we know that is already ongoing is that we have the Green Deal implementation discussions, we have the renewal of MATSIT, we have the renewal of the producer responsibility organizations that will bring all kinds of discussions and change. And we also see that like there are externally organized conversations. But what we are like actually still hoping to support as a project is to really get to talk about where to get to with each other. And this is really then about finding a way to get to where we want to go, how we want to go there, and what kind of pathways we could build to actually get there. And that's something, the work that we are going to do as package heroes, particularly Tita and Vilja and others are going to be involved in developing that, which I'm sure also would be very great to have people to join that. That's it for me. Thank you. And any questions?
So, proud, please. Ei kun rohkeasti vaan kysymään. So if you consider so that it's obvious that we have a systematic thing here on our hand, and it will mean that we definitely need a collaboration there. So what is the way how we should build up the collaboration?
I think there are various different ways. What we see is with the food companies, and actually with all the companies in different sectors, is that there is a fear for breaking like the competition laws. There's a fear of like how far can we go in terms of collaboration, and there is a need for finding a kind of like a balance between finding clear pictures of this is what we can do together, and here we are getting off. We need to be careful because we don't want to break competition laws, and I think that's a discussion that companies are having in relation to collaboration, which is something that is not often actually discussed.
Mm-hmm. And maybe it's a little bit complicated because packaging is many times particularly in food companies, but in other companies as well, a part of marketing activities, and so it's considered as a direct market act.
Yes, and that's part of seeing it as part of competition is also the same with the sustainability pictures. It's like we don't necessarily want to do this together because then we also don't get the benefit of getting ahead of others in terms of sustainability image.
Yeah, and at the same time we have say like you really don't see them if I don't put them here.
Yeah.
So like two products look totally different, but they have exactly the same technology. Same material in a cap, same material in a bottle. Shape is different, but even the shape of the bottom is the same because the packaging line is same.
Yes.
Not necessarily the same company which is packing them, but like most probably pretty much the same company which is providing the preforms and
the packaging material or the
packaging,
packaging,
and the machinery.
Yeah, machineries. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's where I think there are possibilities. So it's also like where do we get to, like to what kind of direction? Where can we create shared understanding of standards? So do we want to create shared standards? How, in what kind of way do we want to create shared standards that can help in actually producing more shared solutions?
Yeah, so it's like we should be able to share more because we are, say, uniquely similar.
Yes, I agree.
And at the same time, it might be the benefit of the competition law as well that if we can share the, say, affordable solution, so at least it means a more affordable products on a marketplace.
Yes.
So in that way, we have a little bit, say, the dilemmas what our say fourth point in the or was it third point in our political recommendation is that so to make Finland kind of a platform of testing new possible solutions is what we should like promote in a legislation as well.
Yes, I fully agree.
Yeah. Any other questions